Hello everyone to another episode of Road Trip with Fwipp. I know you really can't see me right now, but this is the show where I sit in this car, driving more hours down the highway, telling you my stories, because that's the only way to kill time. Today I bring you a story of when I was admin at Hardcore's server. This in fact is a story that I never told before behind the scenes, because the consequences of people learning this knowledge would enable them, if it has not yet been patched, to crash a server worse than the people that I've seen gain op and then use World Edit to delete the spawn. In fact, without me knowing how we fixed it, I believe it would corrupt a map beyond repair. And I've never said it before for that reason. I'm saying it here because perhaps it's been patched. It's a good story. The knowledge has been in my head for a long time, and nobody watches this series anyway. I'm fairly certain of that. So at the very least, my story will live on here on the road. This happened on Hardcore's server perhaps around 1.3. This was before we had VK, okay? To put it in perspective, I believe maybe there certainly were no horses. I think maybe redstone lamps were just introduced. Anyways, here is what happened. The reason that this is so terrible is because I'm pretty sure it happened all because of an accident. And the accident was that they gave donation ranks that were high enough the ability to use the /give command. And the thing that's at the crux of this problem is the item known as the SpawnmobEgg. This is the story of why those were banned entirely. Here's what happens. What happened was you had a bunch of people who had donated get a certain ability, right? The /give command. And with that, you could give yourself a SpawnmobEgg, something like, a spawn creeper or, spawn sheep, something like that. But you could give it a data value instead of just saying spawn creeper, right? And the thing that caused this terrible, terrible problem, I believe, was something like giving yourself a SpawnmobEgg, the number something like 173:2. I could be totally wrong, but I believe it was something like that. The point was, you are creating an egg that will create an entity which was either exploding TNT or falling sand. And the thing was, as soon as you would create this entity, the server would not know how to render it and would immediately spam the console until it violently crashed immediately. So, basically, the other thing is that entity still exists. So any player walking to the chunk in which one was used, as soon as that chunk loads, crashes the server. Do you understand how horrible that is? Now, Hardcore server, even back in 1.3, had an amazing ability to reboot itself without the staff needing to do so. The issue was the people responsible, let's pass this guy for now, people responsible for creating this problem probably had no idea what they had done. And so their act of logging back into the server after it had restarted, it would immediately crash it again. You can imagine that, seeing as this was done at probably their own house, just to see what would happen, if somebody were to use this ability on the spawn of the server, it would be gone. Now, you're probably thinking, how in the world did anybody ever fix this kind of a problem? And you would be right. That makes no sense, does it? So, what you need to understand is that always a prerequisite for being on staff on Hardcore server is that you have TeamSpeak and can log in and have a microphone, not only to prove that you're a real person, but that sometimes general meetings happen, or if some weird, crazy stuff happens, you can actually talk it out. And this is exactly what happened. Basically, they had David Hawk, Fluff McGruff, and Rocky himself fly around the server, alright? So they had the player data of the people that were logging in and immediately crashing the server. They couldn't figure out why, but they knew it was happening at those coordinates. So what they had was, say, David Hawk teleport to 500 blocks away from the supposed crash site, and then just fly towards it. Now what they had to do was ban the players logging back in, because of course this whole process wouldn't work if the server was down, you know? So they had him fly until, you know, he loaded the chunk in question, and then the server went down. So they'd say, okay, there's the coordinates right there. Hey, Fluff, you want to go in this direction? And eventually, while this whole process of crashing and coming back was happening, they managed to map out the specific chunk on the server that was causing the problem. And what they had to do was open up the map on, like, I think a test server or something. Rocky did it himself. Well, we are going way too fast now. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, at least 120. Should be good. You see, what ended up happening was they had to cut that part out of the map. Like, somebody probably did it at their house, and, like, that was gone. Totally gone. And I think I helped figure out what was going on too, because I think even though the players that had used the eggs had, you know, crashed themselves from the server permanently, they were friends and were talking over Skype. So once we figured out, hey, what the heck is going on here, I decided to teleport to, like, some of their bases, and then in their chests, luckily enough, I found the eggs responsible. And I was like, this is weird. This is like SpawnmobEgg of falling sand. What is this doing here? And the image was like any other egg, but it was white. I believe if you look on the Minecraft wiki about, like, hacked eggs, there might be a little bit of data on it, but it doesn't say, you know, this will corrupt a map beyond repair kind of thing, does it? Because this is the kind of thing that people don't want to talk about. Because if it hasn't been patched, you know, consider the ramifications here. That is, if you're listening. Now, the funny thing is, to conclude my short little story here, is that later on, when I was just kind of exploring the map, like, you know, jumping around, looking at players' houses, seeing how new people were getting started and stuff, every so often I would find the place that this happened at. And I knew it was the place because it was a giant, like, it was an entire chunk that was gone, right? So it was just a random part of the world that had been converted into ocean. Like, you'd be walking around, and then, like, a house would be cut in half, and there was just this giant block of water. Like, you could look straight down to bedrock. Now, of course, you know, since it's ocean, the water is at whatever the water level for the ocean is, right? So you just have this drop off of land, a massive thing of water, and then that was it. You could look right to the bedrock level, in fact. I'm not sure why that was. I mean, if they had just replaced it with another biome, you'd assume that, you know, there'd be land under the ocean. So maybe that's the default state for just having a chunk gone. Or they decided to fill it in with water because, you know, filling it in with land, I don't know. But it was certainly really weird to look at. Like, you just, all these houses, and all of a sudden you'd know a house had been there at one point, because you'd have, like, a floating porch, a door, like 2 blocks inward, and like a chest, and then nothingness. I think some people started to build over the ocean, but the funny thing was, me being Fwipp, me being there when they fixed the problem, I knew what that, you know, part of the world missing represented. And I'm sure that, like, everybody that kind of stumbled upon that giant, you know, empty hole of water didn't really get why that was there. You know, if anybody is watching this that was still around, oh my goodness, you know, when it was happening, just server crash after server crash, and we were saying, we're working on it, guys, believe us, we're working on it. You know, crashing the server became kind of how we were working on it, right? Oh, it was kind of ridiculous, to be honest. And that's my little story. After that, I believe we removed the /give ability from donation ranks. I believe we did stuff like, instead of giving them the give commands, they decided to just give them creative mode. So instead of being able to, like, create items that shouldn't be in the game, instead of that, we would just allow them to pick anything out of the menu. And that was a lot safer. You know, it's been a while since 1.3 or whenever that happened, I'm sure, but that's my little story, you know, the admin thing of, you know, whenever I told people in the past, look, I've been a staff member on a big server, and there's things that I know, you know, such as how you possibly could wreck a server beyond repair. Well, guys, that's it. you know, please use that knowledge however you will. I hope you just use it for entertainment. I hope you don't use it maliciously like, you know, I've feared for so much. But at the same time, maybe it's kind of like those TF2 videos I watch where Delphi shows off glitches and then like weeks later they're patched immediately. You know, hopefully it's been removed from the game. Because let's be honest here, you know, one glitch egg removing a map, that is crazy. That's absolutely insane. But anyways, I thank you again for joining me here. Please leave your feedback, your comments, and actually tell me what content you'd like me to continue with, because as an actor, a gamer, and your friend, you know, anything that helps me keep you around to enjoy the ride like this one with me, well, helps. So, you know, drive safe, friends. I'll try to keep driving safe on my end. Have a good night. I got probably, you know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I got 1 hour left to be driving out of my 5-hour trip once again. Stay safe, friends. Study hard.